We've seen earlier how growth, profitability, and size are the sort of holy trinity of business success. Yeah, you remember? If you've got growth, you're profitable and you're big, woo, woo, woo. If you are a small business, unprofitable and not growing, boo. So with this, one of the things we try and do is when you're looking at competitors and you're looking for inspiration, you're trying to say, which of my various competitors should I really learn from? And too many times there's lots of anecdotes being bandied around. This graph helps you put into perspective the different competitors. So what you do typically is you do 3 axes. So the horizontal axis is one where you plot growth, the vertical axis is one where you plot profitability, and then the third axis, which is the size of the bubbles we're going to plot on that, is the size of various company. Yeah? Growth, profitability, size. With a little bit of subtlety is to make it more visually striking, I invite you to put the axes to the average of the industry. So growth, vertically, instead of putting it at the bottom, just put growth somewhere in the middle, and that is the industry average growth. Likewise, profitability is somewhere in the middle, and then you plot the competitors in your industry. And what you find is a couple of things. The first one is, not uncommonly, you'll find one of the biggest competitors right bang in the middle. Why? Because their size means they affect the weighted average profitability, the weighted average growth. So not uncommonly, the dominant player is going to be somewhere in the middle. And then what you find in these 4 quadrants, can you see that the bottom quadrant, bottom left, is the companies that are dying. Effectively, people whose profitability is below industry average, whose growth is below industry average. Doesn't matter what size they have. If their growth is less than industry average, they'll be shrinking, and if they're unprofitable, they're dead soon. Okay. Comparatively, the top left corner is the, I like to call it the lifestyle corner. It's companies who are not growing as fast as the industry, but very profitable. And here, they choose to keep an above average profitability. Can you see that one of the things they could do is compromise that above average profitability if they really wanted to chase growth? And actually, speaking of which, the bottom right corner are the buyers or the buying firms. What they're buying is they're buying growth. They're growing a lot faster than the industry, but a much lesser profitability. That's usually a giveaway to the fact that they're using either discount pricing or other mechanisms to buy growth. And then the top right corner is the champions. These are people who are above average in industry average in profitability, above average on growth, and then sometimes they're quite small, sometimes they can be quite big, as in this example, and they're doing really, really well. Okay. Now, for all of these, I've pointed it earlier. The classic thing you look for is any given company can actually buy more growth by compromising profitability. The toughest bit is to achieve growth at the same profitability. If we look here specifically at a company, and we're going to look at the medical interim placement agencies in the US, so people who offer doctors or nurses, etc., on an interim basis for hospitals. Let's pretend the client is the clinical recruiter, one of the companies playing in this space. And then here they are, okay? So they're sort of a medium-sized, slightly smallish player in the industry, and asking themselves, we're hearing lots of anecdotes of different strategies followed by our different competitors. Which one is of real interest? Well, what we highlight here is there's 3 champions, okay? A, B, C. You can see that C is quite attractive because it's growing roughly the same, it's a fair amount bigger, but it's a lot more profitable. So if green is interested in a bit of a lifestyle, it's sort of, okay, how do we increase profitability without stretching ourselves on growth? The competitor A, on the other hand, is someone who said, I'm going to really go and push for growth. Now, please note the notion that the reason they have a higher growth is because they have lower profitability, which is a causality interpretation, is not guaranteed. All we have here is a coincidence. They have higher than average growth, but average profitability. One possibility for that would be that they've compromised profitability, or they've chosen to compromise profitability to gain growth. It's not certain. So that's the second player. And can you see that if you are the clinical recruiter, then one of the things you want to do here is look actually to competitor B. It's someone that's roughly the same size as us, roughly the same profitability, but growing much faster. Now they are in their shared size and shared profitability, there's probably some similarities in their much enhanced growth, there's probably some learning. Okay, so GPS chart, one of my favorites. Always remember, growth, profitability, size. Try and plot the industry average in the middle, and you've got those 4 quadrants to draw inspiration from.